This tutorial gives a basic overview of the various sections in the main StoryMaker interface. Each section will also have its own tutorial to help you master each aspect of the interface separately. Author Bookshelf. When you create a new story, a numeric value is automatically assigned to the story and a 6-character passcode is automatically created. You can use this number and passcode to access your story at any time for editing and revisions. However, if you lose or forget your story number and 6-character code, there is no way to recover it. Additionally, the 6-character passcode is not likely to be a code that is easy to remember. To make your login experience easier, we strongly recommend that you create an Author Bookshelf login and password. Unlike the automatically generated story number and 6-character code, your Author Bookshelf login will have the following features: an easy-to-remember username of your choosing, an easy-to-remember password of your choosing, username search to find your username if you lose or forget it, password questions to help you recover your password if you lose or forget it, one simple login for all your stories rather than individual story numbers and 6-digit codes for each story. The Author Bookshelf interface appears at the top of the main StoryMaker page. A separate tutorial has been created to explain how this function works in more detail. The Story Info section contains the basic information about your story, including story number, story passcode, story title, author. If you have a blog or website, you can include a link to it on every page of your StoryPit story. To do so, just be sure to include your blog or site name and your blog or site URL or web address. Your email address will not be published. However, it may be helpful if a dispute arises about the content you have uploaded. If we do not have a valid email address on file, we will not be able to contact you, and your story may be deleted without notice if a dispute arises. The Story Info section appears just below the Author Bookshelf section on the main StoryMaker page. A separate tutorial has been created to explain this function in more detail. The Manage Chapters section allows you to delete, reactivate, reorder, or jump to chapters you have already completed. It appears on the left side of the main StoryMaker page, just below the Story Info section. A separate tutorial with video has been created to explain how this function works. The Chapter Info section allows you to specify the type of chapter you are writing and to give it a title. Chapter titles are completely optional. If you are simply using Chapter 1, Chapter 2, etc. as your chapter naming scheme, just select Numeric Chapter as your chapter type and StoryPit will add the chapter numbers automatically when you publish your story. You can also select chapter types such as Introduction, Prologue, Afterword, etc. from the drop-down menu. These chapter types may also have titles, although chapter titles are also optional for these types of chapters. The Chapter Info section appears on the right side of the main StoryMaker page, just below the Story Info section. A separate tutorial with video has been created to explain how this function works in more detail. The Copy-Paste Chapter Text section is where you will enter the text for your chapter. StoryPit stories are built one chapter at a time. You can add page break tags within your chapter text to break the chapter into smaller pages. When entering or copying your chapter text, do not include hard line breaks, such as Enter key or carriage return key at the end of each line. The Enter key on your computer should be used only to separate paragraphs, not individual lines. Use 2 Enter keystrokes to place one blank line between each paragraph in your chapter. The Chapter Info section appears on the left side of the main StoryMaker page, just below the Manage Chapters section. A separate tutorial has been created to explain how this function works in more detail. The Markup Tags section allows you to add formatting features to your chapter. There are 3 basic types of tags in this section: divider tags, which include the page break and indentation tags. Text tags. These tags are used to format text within a paragraph. You can make text bold, italicized, and underlined. Generated tags. These tags use a separate interface to create objects such as lists, images, tables, embedded videos, and hyperlinks, which can then be placed in your chapter. The Markup Tags section appears on the right side of the main StoryMaker page, just below the Chapter Info section. A separate tutorial has been created to explain this function in more detail. The Review Finalized Chapter section allows you to preview your chapter with page breaks clearly marked and markup tags displayed. After you've reviewed the chapter and are happy with the results, click the Finalize Chapter button to proceed to the next step. At the next step, you will be able to begin a new chapter or publish your story. The Review Finalized Chapter section appears at the bottom of the StoryMaker page. A separate tutorial has been created to explain this function in more detail.